We also have a bunch of other little shits.
Oh
stuck
my
together to form
God.
New sounds. Whenever you
So
see
hard. I can't do that. Cześć and welcome back. And welcome back here from a little hotel room out of near Zakopane. Yeah, I'm currently in Poland, and in Poland, of course, I see so much Polish. And because I'm not the best in Polish, we react today to how to read Polish or something. Yeah, perfect for my journey here in Poland to get better to know with Polish, because everybody thinks I'm Polish and talks to me in Polish, and I'm always like, angielsku, maybe niemiecko, and yeah, this is always a little bit weird. So perfect thing for the video. By the way, if you think, wait, you said you have so much coverage from Poland and stuff, we recorded a lot of stuff, but because we recorded a lot of stuff, so much more things need to be edited and something like this, and we just drive every day 6-7 hours, so we have no time for anything. But before we start, please make sure to hit a like and a subscribe. That would help me so much. And if you want to see more of me, check out my Patreon. And now let's get right into the reaction.
What is this? Who created this?
Yeah, what is that?
Is this even a real sentence, or did a cat walk on my keyboard while carefully avoiding vowels? Did Polish people eat their vowels during occupation and couldn't afford to grow new ones? Yes, and soon they're going to eat yours unless you learn to read this mess before they find out where
So I think this is a sh. I think, yeah. This is a word, I think. Guaschacho. That's out. Guaschacho. Wyszczymien. I think that's also a sh. Szliwe. Pstrowi. What is wrong with your language? Let's be honest.
you live. Luckily, to read this, you don't need to learn a new alphabet. This isn't Cyrillic or Asian moon runes. Additionally, unlike English, each letter represents a specific sound, so as soon as you learn what each letter sounds like, you win. Obviously, the ability
That is so cool. English is sometimes really weird.
to read does not equal the ability to understand, but it just might impress your Polish friends enough to stave off their appetite. Now keep in mind, I'm not a real teacher. I have no higher education, no real experience with teaching anyone anything, no more knowledge than a typical native speaker at best, and I didn't even pay attention in high school, so feel free to consider me the best person for the job and ultimate authority on the subject.
Perfect.
Okay, let's have a look at the first word, wszyscy. I've heard people say it has no
Wszyscy. Wszyscy. Okay.
vowels, but it does. This letter here is a clear vowel in Polish and makes the sound I, like in the
In
word
German, I have heard or read in some book, in school you never talk about this, but in some book I have read that Y, so this letter, is a half vowel or something like that. And I was what the but okay, interesting. In Poland, it's a full vowel.
word system. While in English, it can also sound like I in Y, E in study, or even Y in yellow, because English makes no sense. In Polish, it always makes the sound I.
Okay,
Same goes for every other vowel. A, O, E, I, O, U. They all make one specific sound with no exceptions. There are two versions of U, but both sound exactly the same. It's
Okay.
dumb, but so am I, so I can judge.
Yeah.
Now I would like to say it's the same for consonants, but there is one tiny exception I noticed while writing this. W in wszyscy should sound like wy, wódka, wojna, but it seems to soften up to an F. Wszyscy. I suggest
Wszystkie.
ignoring
Okay.
this issue completely because frankly, who gives a shit? I can hardly tell the difference myself. We know now that this is V and this is I. Time for this. Every time these two letters are together, they make the sound sh. English does the same thing, except instead of using S and Z, it uses S and H.
Yeah.
Like in shoe, shenanigans, or shower, which you haven't
Oh, in German, SCH.
taken for too long, and I can smell you from here. In addition to sh, we also have a bunch of other little shits
oh
stuck
my
together to form
God.
new sounds. Whenever you
So,
see
so many. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
these, they each make one sound, which makes the scary sentence at the beginning significantly more manageable. Now for the last sound we need to explain in the word wszyscy. This is ts. It's like
Ts.
a vocalization of the drum sound when you're done.
Interesting. In German, it would be C, but you also, for example, in my name, Chris, you would say it as a K.
It's a joke. Badum ts. Except shorter. Cycki, cena.
Cycki.
S needs no explanation, as it's exactly the same in both languages, so we're done. You should now be able to decode wszyscy. Unlike in English, where letters have dreams and can be whatever the hell they want, in Polish you simply pronounce each sound one after another and you get the word. W, sz, y, sy, cy, y. Wszyscy. Okay, so we've explained a bunch of stuff.
Wszyscy. Wow, there's so much great input. For example, Cycki mean breasts, because in German, the nipple is also the Zitze. So it's so funny that those are very related. But we, for example, spell it with a Z. So there's so much in it, and he's so fast. But it's totally interesting. If you like this video, please hit a like. And if you want to see more of me, I would love if you subscribe. Thank you so much for that.
Okay, so we've explained a bunch of stuff and decoded wszyscy. Now let's continue reading the insane-looking sentence I had started this video with. We already know sh. Next we have ch, which is a combination similar to English C and H in words such as children, touch, and chop. Now Polish ch is a bit harsher than its English counterpart, but there's also a comparable softer sound.
It's a bit like chips, I would say. Chips, right?
You can hear both in the word cześć.
Cześć.
English version falls somewhere in between those two.
Okay.
Next we have the vowel O. It's just O. It has always been O, and that's all it ever will be. Unlike in English, where it can be O in mob and rob, O in broke and smoke, but also A in stop and mom. And don't get me started on two O's sounding like U in food, but O in door. Truly, English makes no sense and should be abolished.
Yeah.
Moving on. D is
only German should be the real language.
the same in both languages and needs no explanation. J is a combination not similar to anything I can think of in English, but there are some French names you may be familiar with, such as Jean-Claude Van Damme, which seem to use the same J sound. J can be written in two ways, both sound exactly the same, but for any given word, only one is correct. That's dumb, but luckily we're trying to learn to read here, not write, so you don't have to worry about it. There are some very rare cases of R and Z not forming J, but you'll probably never encounter them, and I can only think of one example, marznąć, so I'd recommend to forget about it and act surprised when you run into this 5 years from now. Vowel E. The sound is E and nothing else. Even if a Polish person were to read the English word even, it would probably sound even, because vowels in Polish don't care about your soft tongue and refuse to bend. But you know what does bend? The sponsor of this... Nah, just kidding. I don't have a sponsor. I have not yet been szczodrze given the opportunity to sell myself out. And so we're done with the word szczodrze.
Szczodrze.
O-d-ż-e. Szczodrze.
Szczodrze.
Now for głaszczą. G is the same as in God, given, or game, but not G in forge. For that kind of sound, we have the combination of D and Ż. Dżem, dżuma, or for double the fun, dżdżownica. Ły is like W in English work or way. A is another unchanging, never-bending vowel.
Yeah,
it's not.
It's so cool to listen to my Polish friend, for example, speaking English, because it's always everything is the clear R. So, for example, something like hand is not hand because it's an R, it's Hand, which is totally German because that's a German word for hand or hand.
Hard, but it is in the word hard, and that's what it always sounds like. While in English, it often replaces other vowels when they come to work sick, such as O in fall, E in angry. In Polish, it's always A. We've already covered sh and ch, so next is O. It's like A with a little tail. It's cute.
Yeah, it
is. The
same
sound shows up in the word telephone. In theory, it's supposed to sound always the same, just like other vowels, but I guess it can sometimes turn into on if you don't try hard enough. Like in the word mądrość, it often sounds like mądrość, and no one seems to care. Now then, głaszczą is done. Time for...
So what is now? It has a little N or not? Is it just a O?
Zliwe. I know this word looks ridiculous, after all that's the reason I created this nonsensical sentence to begin with, but bear with me. We start with the already known to us W from wszyscy, kinda softened up to an F, but whatever.
Okay.
S and T are the same as in English. So far so good. If you can draw someone's attention while whispering pst, you can also say wst. Next we have Ż and E, already encountered in szczodrze, then M, the same as in English. Wstrzem. Now vowel E. Like the rest of them, it always sounds the same. Instant fit defeat. E, easy. Next up is ę. Similarly to how a has a variant o, e has a variant ę. You take that e and you drag it a little bit. E, ę. It's like you have e in thank you and ę in thank you? It makes sense if you don't think about it. J. Another case of two ways of writing this sound and only one being correct for any given word. One is technically shorter than the other, but it's not all that noticeable.
Okay.
Źle, zima.
Źle,
Z and
zima.
I together always make a
Źle and zima.
J sound. As far as I know, there is no Z in Polish, and if there is, it's probably a borrowed foreign word. L, the same as in English. I, V, and E have already been covered, so we're done here. W, S, T, Ż, E, M, I, E, Ź, L, I, W, E. Wstrzemięźliwe. Wstrzemięźliwe.
Wstrzemięźliwe. I think that was pretty good. Wstrzemięźliwe.
Last word in our monstrosity, pszczoły. By now you realize
What?
that what may look like 5 consonants stuck together is actually just 3. P is the same as in English, and everything else we've already mentioned. P, sz, czy, o, ły, I. Pszczoły. Now, if you were a perfect student capable of learning everything on the first try, which you are not...
Sorry. I always want to try myself. Pszczoły. Again, how was it really?
P, sz, czy, o, ły, I. Pszczoły. Now, if you were a perfect student capable...
Yeah, pszczoły.
...of learning everything on the first try, which you are not, you would be able to now read Wszyscy szczodrze głaszczą wstrzemięźliwe pszczoły.
No.
This sentence, however, does not contain everything, so let's fill in the gaps and teach you how to read every Polish sentence there is. In theory, anyway. Here's all the stuff there is. Here's all the stuff we haven't covered yet. And here's all the stuff we haven't covered yet, excluding things identical in English. Let's start with ch, you hardworking human. It's exactly the same as in English, except it has 2 variants.
It's probably the same as in German, right? Ich. And maybe a little bit softer, like ich.
C and H together also make ch. And I've been told this version is supposed to be a bit softer, but I honestly can't hear the difference, so most likely neither will you. Chleb, chiny, honor, horror. Yi. In English, you often write down this sound as Y in words such as yellow or yes. If you wanted to force Poles to read English against their will, you could write these words like this. Yellow, yes. Ni.
Germans as well, you know, the yacht, as we said in German, you could exactly have the same sound.
2 versions, one shorter, one longer, that sort of thing. You start with an N and soften it to ni. Koń, niski, danie. Rather simple. I'm 90% sure it's not a Monty Python reference. U. 2 versions, both sound the same, always U. Dumny, grubas, Kraków. It will never be A. No,
okay, interesting.
Whether how hard it craves English, but. R.
English, I can't do that. No. No, I can't do that. I only can say it in the K word, but otherwise, no, I can't do that.
Depending on the accent, R is sometimes barely even there.
Barely.
Polish, barely. Tough as nails and ready to drill holes in you. Have fun trying to pronounce that, and if you do, dobra robota.
Dobra. Oh, I can. Dobra. Yeah. Dobra robota. Dobra. I don't know. When I roll it, then my tongue is not fast enough to say the robota.
Like a softer sh, which I've already compared to English sh in shoe. Siła, siorbać, coś. From the harshest to the softest, I drank them like this. Dzy. It's not much different than if the letters were separate, to be honest. Feels like this merge is simply the effect of reading d and z very fast. Pieniądze, dzwonek.
Dzwonek.
It's not dzwonek, but dzwonek.
That's exactly the same, just faster.
Pieniądze, dzwonek.
Dzwonek.
It's not dzwonek, but dzwonek.
Yeah, just
I
faster.
suppose it could be considered a harsher ts. Dż. We've covered
Dż.
z turning into ż, and now this can merge with a d into dż. Dżem, dżuma. Use a close enough
Gem, and Juma.
sound when calling the name of the world's favorite religious.
By the way, how is this then on your keyboard? Do you have really so many things, or do you always have to press long on the Z, for example, to get this Z with a little dot on it, or how is that?
Figure, Jesus. In Polish, we call him Jezus. But if we were
Jesus.
to pronounce his name the English way, we'd write it down as Jesus. And lastly, G.
G.
Like before, we had a Z turning into J, and now we merge that with D to make G. Now that I think about it, maybe this would fit the English Jesus more. Dziwny, dzik, dźwięk, Jesus? In any case, if you've prayed hard enough and your faith in the Polish Jesus is strong, you should now be capable of reading Polish. You still won't understand anything, but at least the jumbled mess of consonants
That's true.
should make a little bit more sense.
Especially, you know, I hear some words, pick some words up always, and then recognize them maybe a little bit. But then if I see them, for example, like Titski, right? I have heard this, and it makes sense to me because, as I said, Zitze is like nipple in German. So that makes total sense for me, but I would never spell it like you do. We would spell it with a TZ and a Z in the beginning. So I would never say, oh, yeah, that is this word. That is absolutely crazy, you know? How it sounds and how it, you know, at least for a German English speaker, and what stands there is so different so often in Polish.
And if you're lucky, you might not throw up anymore at the mere sight of the word wszyscy. Praise Jesus, or your vowels will be eaten.
Absolutely incredible video, and I really like. I would have to watch this multiple times, very, very many times, to get all of this. But I have a really better understanding already, and can read things. I would say like way better than before, because I was always just like, oh, this is probably a sh, that is probably a sh, that is probably a sh, that is probably a sh. So and now I know, okay, there are little differences. One thing is a ch. One thing is more sh, and so on and so forth. And yeah, that was a very great video. Tell me in the comments, are there any other tips that I can do to read better Polish? Tell me in the comments. And I hope you liked this video. If so, keep liking, subscribing, and we see each other in the next one. It's ultimately hot in here. And we don't have an AC. It's really hot in here. So better just quick end the recording to get a little bit the fenster opened, because I can't do this with all of the lights on, because then we get so many mosquitoes in here. But yeah, so keep liking, subscribing, and bye.